Hello everyone, welcome to part 3 of this mini-series about planning for e-commerce, and now I want to talk a little bit about funding. Now there's three major sources of funding when it comes to starting an online business or to going into a new project. And the first one is called venture capitalists. There's many different types of venture capitalists, but basically there are wealthy individuals or firms who have a goal of making profit by selling stock to a public through an initial public offering. And or to take the long-term profits of the business as well. Now there's many TV shows, for example, about this. I really like to watch Shark Tanks or Dragon's Den in the UK, and it's exactly about this. It's for millionaires or for investors, and people go there and they propose their ideas to try to get funding for their businesses. Well, obviously there's some advantages. You can access a large amount of capitals early on, but the problem is that there's a huge pressure for your company to grow fast, and also most of the profits are going to the investors because of the capital they have invested. Okay, and again, you have to measure these costs and benefits. The second one is obviously banks. Now, banks typically provide capital, but they don't share the risk with you. What does that mean? It means that if the business goes bad, they're going to try to get their money back, but they're not going to share the loss with you. And venture capitalists do that. So much more bureaucratic as well, and normally only lends money if the owner as well has invested a significant part of the equity, or if it posts a collateral for the investment of their business. The benefit here is that obviously is that all the profits of the business are kept by the owner, but again the cost is that if something goes wrong, the bank does not share part of the loss with you. So they have claim over you, over the assets of the business, until the total amount that they lend to you is repaid. The third one that typically happens is family and friends, okay, and this is quite normal. In this case, what we have, it's very normal for small businesses to obtain financing from family and friends. The amount of financing is obviously limited, but for many businesses, it's the only option available, and for many businesses as well, they don't need millions of dollars. They just need a small investment to be able to start their business. The advantage here is that typically low interest rates or even no interest rates at all, and sometimes you can negotiate very well the payment system with family and friends, and gives you more flexibility than maybe a bank would give you. But I believe that one of the highest costs here is the emotional pressure that you have, and also the ability to very quickly lose friends. My dad normally says that if you want to lose a friend, just to lend them money, and there you go, that's it. Okay, so it's something that in my opinion you have to be very careful, and it should be your last option available. So then what you need to do, obviously in terms of financing and in terms of this, when trying to sell your project to potential investors, is you need to compare your benefits and the costs of your business. Okay, capital projects, or what we call capital investments, are major investments in equipment, personnel, and other assets, and this is what we're basically trying to do when starting an e-commerce platform or starting an e-commerce business. So we need to identify what are the benefits and what are the costs, and do the benefits exceed the costs. Okay, so typically what we do is first we identify the benefits, then we identify the costs, then we go and determine how much is these benefits worth. And in my opinion, this is the hardest one to do because it's extremely ambiguous. And then we determine the total amount of costs, which typically is easier to do. And then obviously we compare, do the benefits exceed the costs? If yes, by how much? Is it worth it to follow this project? So one of the measures we do is return on investment, and I'm sure there's many websites about this, how to calculate return on investment. And I just want to talk about the use of this tool, not how to actually calculate it. But the return on investment can be relatively simple or complicated to use depending on the formula that it uses. But basically it measures the amount of return, or the amount of income you get, divided by how much you had to invest. And it's a very simple calculation in a way, but the problem comes from calculating what is the amount of return you're going to be able to get. So the use of ARI is, like I said, it's a measurement tool for evaluating projects because of past use. And in a way, it's kind of tradition to use ROI because it's simple and most investors know how to read it and how to understand. Like I said, it's very easy to understand, but on the other hand, it has some built-in bias that can lead to poor decisions. Because, for example, we don't see so much about, for example, if you use the basic ROI formula, you don't take into consideration how fast fast those returns are coming, because money that comes in immediately after opening the business and money that comes in 6 months after opening the business is completely different, and it can mean the difference between failure or success. ROI requires all costs and benefits to be stated in monetary units, and again another problem here, which is it gives much more weight to costs rather than benefits. How do you put a number on customer satisfaction? It's very hard to measure the dollar benefit of customer satisfaction, for example. ROI focuses on benefits that can be predicted, but initiatives have return benefits not foreseen. In other words, many of the marketing campaigns we know, they have benefits that will generate maybe a return next year or in 2 years, or maybe it will just create a better brand awareness that will help the brand in more the long term, but we cannot quantify those things. And finally, ROI tends to emphasize short-term benefits over long-term benefits, and therefore, again, if you're trying to build a long-term stable business, ROI can be a bad measure to use in your case. So as we've seen here, there's many things to consider in terms of measuring the difference between costs and benefits, and not always the typical tools that you see out there like return on investment are the best tools for you, and most of the benefits we have online are extremely hard to put a monetary value on them. So this is the point I want you to think about and be careful when thinking about planning for your e-commerce business. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next video of this mini series.